Alright, in this video, I'm going to be talking about the fact that I haven't had a haircut in 15 days, and there is no foreseeable time in my calendar to get one anytime soon. No, but in all reality, I'm going to be talking about the main issue behind BC real estate, what's going on right now when it comes to investing, and why you may want to opt into investing in Alberta. And stick around until the end because I'm going to give you guys my opinion on where I would invest. I'm that Agent Kelly. I talk about Canadian real estate in my local market of Abbotsford and the Fraser Valley. If you guys like my content, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and I've got a link down in my description where you can book yourself into my calendar and me and you can have a chat. So I've been getting a lot of calls lately from clients, from other realtors that I know, other people that I know, that tenants are starting to do this thing where they just don't pay the rent. They just move in, they don't pay a single day's rent, and then because of our tenant landlord laws here, it takes 6 to 8 months to get the non-rent paying tenant out of the home, and 9 out of 10 times they end up leaving a mess. Maybe not completely trashing the house, but at least dinging up the walls, paint, leaving garbage there, so on and so forth. And then it costs a couple grand to remediate all that, get it back on the market so you can rent it out again, and hopefully the next tenant doesn't do the same thing. And this is an issue that I would suspect a first-time investor probably wouldn't even think about. Like, I know I wouldn't have been thinking about that issue when I bought my first investment property, but investors who have been around the block would know all about this, and this is what is probably the most attractive thing about Alberta real estate right now, I would say. In Alberta, as far as I know, and you can do your own research, but as far as I know, there is no rent cap. You can raise the rent whenever you want, by however much you want, so long as the tenant is willing to pay that amount, and so long as the tenant is on a month-to-month lease and not on a 1-year term or a 6-year term or whatever it be. So long as their term is up and they're month-to-month, you can raise the rent by however much you'd like, whenever you'd like. Not only that, if your tenant stops paying the rent and you act fast, from what I hear, you can actually have that tenant removed from the home within 1 month if you're lucky. So this means to me that not only do you have much more control over your asset, but it also provides a lot of stability and therefore more safety in owning that asset. Out here in BC, if your tenant stops paying the rent, it takes 6 to 8 months. I've heard even longer to get the tenant out of there. And then because property values are higher here, you're probably hemorrhaging on average, probably not even average, probably on the lower end of it, you're probably hemorrhaging like $3,500 a month. And then, like I said before, you got to spend a couple grand in repairs once you finally do get the tenant out, to clean it up, to get it rentable again. And an experience like this could force a first-time investor to have to liquidate that property at a loss after all the friction costs that come with real estate. Like, even if you sell it for the price you paid for it, you still have to pay realtor commissions, and then you're out of all the money that you lost for those months, and then you paid the property transfer tax, you paid all these fees and all these taxes. You're still losing big money even if you sell it for the same price that you paid for that property. As well, the other issue, even if you get an amazing tenant who's awesome, who pays their rent on time and keeps the place immaculate and beautiful, in 3 to 4 years, they are going to be paying substantially under market rent to live in that home. I know of people that are paying like $1,300 a month rent to rent in downtown Vancouver right now, and like a grungy 1-bedroom basement suite in Abbotsford is like $1,250 a month. And the reason why is because they have been living there for so long, and the landlord could only bump up the rent 2%, 1.5% every year. Most landlords don't even bother going through that. They just, whatever, that's the rent. Maybe you'll move out in a few years. If not, this is the rent. So not only do you not have a lot of control over the asset in BC in terms of, if they stop paying, there isn't really much you can do aside from just wait and let the court do its thing. But also, even if things go well and you own that asset for a while, your tenant is likely going to be paying a pretty vast amount under market rent every single month, which does add up quite substantially. So I think overall, Alberta is a great place for a first-time investor to get in the market because you get your feet wet. You learn most by doing, right? So when you buy that first investment property, you're going to learn a lot more than just watching YouTube videos like this on how to buy that first investment property. And Alberta is because the property values are a lot less, there's a lot much risk to the downside involved with owning property in Alberta. A lot of the real estate there also cash flows positively, which you pretty much won't find in Vancouver's metro area, Lower Mainland, Fraser Valley, and well, you can find it in parts of the Okanagan, but for the most part, cash flow is very difficult to find here in BC. And then the tenant situation makes it a lot safer for a first-time investor. Now, all of that being said, I don't think there's a lot of money to be made in Alberta at the same time. Let's just talk about Calgary, because Calgary is the main market over there. That's the Vancouver of Alberta. Calgary is basically Pepsi stock. It is slow, steady, safe growth, but Pepsi is never going to go up 20, 30%, and to double your investment in Pepsi takes like 10 years. Probably longer, actually. Calgary and parts of Alberta is safe, but expect minimal returns. And it's safe overall, but there's also areas you need to watch out for in Alberta. It may not always be safe. It's not like Vancouver where you can pretty much just buy anywhere except East Hastings Street and probably be okay. In Alberta, you have to be a little bit more careful on the location that you pick, I would say. But at the end of the day, me personally, despite all of this, despite the negative cash flow, despite the tenant-landlord rules, despite the risk, higher risk, higher reward, I think there's a lot more money to be made in BC than there is in Calgary, and it just depends on what type of investor you are. In BC, I think it's fine to buy here as a first-time investor so long as you're factoring and running your numbers based on the worst-case scenario before you ever buy the property. That way, if the worst-case scenario actually happens, you're fine, or you at least have a backup plan to deal with that scenario. And here's the thing, right? If you guys have ever driven through Calgary, there is literally hundreds of thousands of acres of just bare land, nothing on it. And it's going to be really hard for there to be rapid price appreciation in a market like that, where it's so much easier to bring new supply into the market. And that's not to say that prices won't go up. I just think the trajectory of which the prices are going up will be a lot slower over there because of that, right? In BC, if we want to bring more supply to market, we have to get 3, 4, 5 detached homes in a row to agree to sell all at the same time, to go through the permit process through the city. Then we have to get a developer who's willing to build something over 5, 6 years to put up a high rise. It's way more work than just piece of land, let's build 40 detached houses on it. In Vancouver and the Lower Mainland, Fraser Valley, whatever, there is no more land. We don't have that issue like most of Alberta has. So as more and more people immigrate here and we have no more land, all we can do is build upwards. That will actually also increase the value of the land that is remaining. So at the end of the day, it's subjective. Every investor is different, and it comes down to what is important to you. Do you value the safety more, or do you value the reward more, right? Vancouver, higher risk, higher reward. Less risk, less reward over here. But at the end of the day, what is important to you? Because I still think this is a great option for a first-time home buyer. Like I said, buy a condo, you and a buddy, you only need like 20 grand to get into a condo over here, get your feet wet, learn about the investing game in a relatively safe environment. But I still take BC. I'm more risk tolerant. If you guys enjoyed this video, thumbs up, subscribe. I'm that Agent Kelly, and I'm making moves to move you. Peace.